Thank you for choosing to watch the Watchman News Headlines video. Our full episodes can now be seen over at Patreon with much more added content for just $2 a month. Link is in the description. If you cannot afford $2 a month, please consider using our Amazon affiliate link, purchasing from our Teespring store, or making a PayPal donation. All links are below. In order for us to grow, we have to make changes to enable it. Our time is valuable, and we have been one of the very few news sources actually dedicated to bringing you honest, hard-hitting, actionable news and information. Plus, for your $2 a month, you do not have to hear me blabber about these links. It's a win for us all.
Bullshit.
Thank you. Good evening, Watchmen and Watchwomen of YouTube. So, tonight, kept it kind of short, kind of all over the board, but we did speak about the United Nations and their continuing call for concern over food shortage. And this is not the first time in the news here recently that I've reported this. In fact, I couldn't tell you how often here of recent I've reported similar news that the United Nations is sounding this alarm. Now, as I stated to Patreon, when you have global interests that control a large part of the food supply, it really doesn't matter whether there's a shortage or not. Whether or not you see a shortage depends on who's in control of said food supply. So in other words, you will have a food shortage when they damn well say you will have a food shortage. Get my drift? So I think it would be wise for people to pay attention to those that have the control of the flow of food. I would listen to what they have to say, and I would prepare. So same message as always, but with as much as they're making statements on this, it's telling me that there's a level of urgency to it. And again, whether this shortage is truly from natural disasters and whatnot, or whether it's man-made, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter in the end, right? We can argue it all day long. Doesn't matter. What matters is whether or not you can feed you and yours. That's all that matters. Anyway, not here to discuss that. That's what we have Patreon for. So let's get on over to headlines and get started. Gonna have a couple of vapes before we do, because it is Sunday and we will be covering headlines all the way from Friday, and well, that takes a little while. So sit back, shut up, and enjoy the ride. Or not, I don't care. Alright. Starting with Friday's news. Beautiful. I always know it's going to be good times when I start out doing the headlines coughing. Alright. Detained South Korean tanker released from Iran's custody, Seoul says. U.S. LNG exports fall from record highs. More than 5,000 tons of extraterrestrial dust rain down on Earth each year, new research says, which completely pisses me off, because now we had nothing to do with it. Now we have to clean up after these people. These extraterrestrials need to get down here and clean up their own dust, because this is bullshit. Why do we have to clean up their dust? Not right. Absolutely not right. Let's see. A monkey hooked up to Elon Musk's Neuralink plays mind pong just with its thoughts. Probably thinking, give me another damn treat, you idiot. UK depends practically entirely on EU for COVID jabs, but bloc only received 25% of doses promised by AstraZeneca, says vaccine boss. CNN goes after racist Asian-themed fonts in widely mocked feature. Yeah, they actually start going after Asian fonts. Okay, then. India and China ramp up gold purchases as market starts recovering from pandemic pain. More migrants, please. COVID-19 has caused fall in foreign workers coming to Russia, leaving country short of manpower, says the Kremlin. Beijing calls on Tokyo to be responsible and consult neighbors as Japan's PM says dumping Fukushima water into ocean is unavoidable. This is indeed a war. Poland's health service struggles to cope with third wave of coronavirus. Again, we're on Friday's news. Half of Russians voice support for public use of new digital ruble, says a poll. NFL gunman Adams had medication stopped by doctor who was target of his shooting spree, says reports. Norway Prime Minister fined $2,300 for inviting too many people to her birthday party and breaking her own coronavirus rules. New lockdown of up to 1 month necessary to prevent third wave of coronavirus, Germany's top public health official says. South Korea unveils domestically developed KF-X prototype fighter jet. President hails new era of defense independence. Duke of Edinburgh, husband of Queen Elizabeth, dies at 99. Again, this is Friday's news. Mike Pompeo becomes latest MAGA hire for Fox News, continuing bipartisan tradition of politics to punditry pipeline. As reforms continue, Russia's prison population drops by 38% in a decade. Per capita incarceration rate now only half that of the U.S. Texas researchers develop method to retrieve weakened traumatic memories in major breakthrough. Let's see. Natural gas production in Europe plunged 23% last year. 16,000 fake review accounts shut down by Facebook after UK competition watchdog intervenes. A cooperative U.S. military detainee became IS leader after release documents reveal. Taiwan claims 11 Chinese planes entered its defense zone in latest flyby. And, I mean, this is what I'm saying. I was talking to Patreon about this. This is one of the issues that we need to keep a close eye on because this is happening over and over and over again. There are certainly, without a doubt, 3, possibly 4 pretty serious hotspot areas in the world right now. So, Ukraine will be irreparably weakened if Russia and Germany allowed to complete Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, warns Kiev's deputy PM. Northern Ireland's Loyalist Communities Council says none of their associated groups involved in the recent violence. Women who fled COVID-19 hospital quarantine after trip to China takes Russian government to European court over loss of liberty. Full-scale Ukrainian war would threaten Russian security, Kremlin warns, pledging action to prevent humanitarian catastrophe. Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine under investigation in EU over potential link to unusual blood clots. Myanmar military claims protests dwindling as mass unrest rages nationwide with deaths and injuries mounting. Again, we're still on Friday's news. Why does U.S. need a special envoy for Russia's Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline? Boom bust digs in. Boeing sounds alarm on new problem with troubled 737 MAX, advises grounding of jets again. Great working relationship will allow Russia and U.S. to travel further out into space together, a senior NASA official tells RT. Modern brains evolved 1.7 million years ago in Africa, a study finds, after examining skulls of mankind's ancient ancestors. Gay duck goes straight. Russian Railways faces bill for signage change after Black Sea train station becomes butt of online jokes. U.S. Navy sends warship to India's exclusive economic zone without permissions to challenge New Delhi's excessive maritime claims. St. Vincent's La Saphir volcano erupts as thousands of islanders flee 8-kilometer-high ash plume. U.S. warships set sail for Black Sea amid standoff with Russia over military conflict in eastern Ukraine, Turkish diplomats report. Algorithms used by Netflix, Amazon, and Facebook can predict language of cancer and diseases such as Alzheimer's, says a study. EU drug regulator reviewing 5 cases of new blood condition in AstraZeneca COVID vaccine recipients amid possible link to jab. Court packing next. Biden to issue executive order examining membership and size of Supreme Court. Judge drops corruption. Judge drops corruption charges against Portuguese ex-PM Socrates, who still faces trial for alleged money laundering. Gates hires prominent New York lawyers amid federal probe. Biden's anti-gun harangue on background checks too much even for PolitiFact. Israeli lawmaker manhandled by police as protest against Palestinian evictions turns violent. Amazon wins union battle as employees and organizers cry foul. ADL wants Fox News host Tucker Carlson fired, claiming he defended white replacement theory in discussing immigration. New U.S. guidelines encourage more interaction with Taiwan amid tensions with China. Black student who faked white supremacist and anti-Semitic graffiti on campus, sparking protests, suspended from Albion College. Biden's border czar resigns soon after comments on pay-to-stay scheme amid record surge of migrants. We need a black woman justice. Democrat pressure group urges liberal justice critical of SCOTUS packing idea to resign. Action fell short to match the rhetoric. Indigenous activists ripped Biden administration for refusal to shut down Dakota Access Pipeline. And now we are to Saturday's news. Woot woot. Okay, House Ethics Committee investigating underage sex claims against Trump ally Matt Gaetz. Not Mike, Matt Gaetz. Nearly 40% of Marines have rejected coronavirus vaccine as Democrats call on Biden administration to make shots mandatory for troops, says reports. Google accused of allowing advertisers to search for white supremacist keywords on YouTube, including All Lives Matter. Donbass crisis, domestic political battles in Kiev, Moscow, and Washington could see Ukraine and Russia stumbling into war nobody wants. Russia's Alrosa sees diamond sales triple for a second month in a row as demand in U.S. and China remains strong. Belfast protests, burning car rams into police line as nightly rioting continues. A transgender woman initially denied transfer to female prison in Israel due to masculine appearance, says the media. Professor argues that Mario Kart could inspire fair economic system. Okay. So, are we going to make it mandatory that we all play Mario Kart? Let's see. Fine with a fine, Alibaba accepts all-time high $2.8 billion penalty from Chinese antitrust regulator. 200,000 plus U.S. military personnel and veterans claimed defective 3M earplugs led to hearing problems at first lawsuit goes to court. UK is not North Korea yet, radio host says after being burned for asking about Prince Philip's funeral. A pandemic against our people, Australians rally against deaths of indigenous people in police custody. Iranian nuclear activities, peaceful and civilian, says President Rouhani as new uranium enrichment centrifuge chain is unveiled. Unacceptable, Biden experiences heavy pressure from within his own party after requesting huge $715 billion Pentagon budget. Existing climate model simulations overestimate future sea level rise by up to 25%, a new study shows. Well. Archaeologists discover 3,000-year-old Egyptian city left as if it were yesterday. It's pretty incredible. EU trade chief proposes mutual tariff freeze to Washington to solve Boeing-Airbus brawl, says reports. Still on yesterday, UAE introduces its first woman astronaut among fresh class of spacefarers. A solemn tone and high public interest amid mountain of complaints, BBC explains its non-stop Prince Philip coverage to the world. Talks over, Sputnik 5 purchase possible. Austria's Kurz says Vienna may buy 1 million Russian vaccine doses. Neck's bothering me. Tensions high ahead of White Lives Matter rally in California. KKK and BLM expected to show up. CRISPR on, CRISPR off. New game-changing gene editing technique is entirely reversible. Anti-lockdown protests grow. Dutch Police for Freedom group holds march against COVID restrictions. Back into quarantine, German government plans new harsh COVID-19 restrictions in draft law, says reports. Still on Saturday. Only the vaccinated will be saved. Confusion after St. Vincent PM says only those with COVID jab can flee volcano on cruise ships. Let's see. Activists call for boycott of Toyota for supporting sedition after donating to Republicans. Cops hunting child murderer after 3 toddlers stabbed to death in Los Angeles. Reports of 80 protesters killed in one day as post-coup military crackdown continues in Myanmar. Social justice pays well. BLM leader ripped for buying $1.4 million Los Angeles home in predominantly white neighborhood. Let's see. Lockdown skeptic Rebel News vows to sue Montreal police after reporters detained at illegal gathering. Turkey backs Ukraine's NATO bid, says military industry cooperation with Kiev is not aimed against third countries. Michigan governor's office dismisses partisan report revealing top aide headed to Florida for spring break. Innovative face mask design from Russia promises to make breathing easy at work or gym. So I know that there's a bunch of masks that are hitting the market that are supposed to be ultra super cool. Whatever. Matt Getz says he might be, by the way, this is last night, Matt Gaetz said he might be wanted by the deep state as House committee probes underage sex claims, corruption allegations. Okay, now from stuff I put out today. Woke imperialism strikes again. CNN faces backlash after it defends keeping U.S. troops in Afghanistan by citing women's rights. Nearly half of Czech population ready to take Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine, even without EU watchdog approval, a poll reveals. IMF approves Russia's economic growth outlook for this year. Data of 1.3 million Clubhouse users leaked online with fears of real damage will be caused, says the media. French Muslim journalist who criticized government Islamophobia asked Macron for protection after receiving death threats. Global food prices continue to surge, hitting 7-year highs, the UN says. Soviet victims of Nazis were a long-forgotten group, German President Steinmeier says ahead of Buchenwald liberation anniversary. Premier League club Arsenal throw their weight behind vaccine passports as they back British government plans for football fans. Dangerous livestock drug kills vultures from threatened species in Spain, sparking renewed calls for European ban on it. Pandemic-stricken French aviation sector laments move to slash carbon emissions by banning domestic flights. Russia ready to supply LNG to fuel-hungry Pakistan. Which one is it? Alrighty. Sorry about that. Blue's over there itching, so I was looking to see what ear. So, okay. Iran reports nuclear terrorism attack at Natanz facility a day after uranium enrichment began. 10-hour Hawaii hotel standoff ends after U.S. Navy man who barricaded himself in a room and fired gunshots killed himself. Obama deterred Russia from doing even more in Ukraine, Blinken claims as he's grilled on costs and consequences. Trump reportedly loses it over son of a bitch McConnell and full of crap Fauci in rant to Republican donors. Up to 80% of people in Sicily refusing AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine over safety concerns. Mossad behind cyber attack on Natanz. I can't get that right. Mossad behind cyber attack on Natanz facility that Iran called nuclear terrorism, Israeli media claim. No Pillow fighter, My Pillow guy's would-be nemesis David Hogue roasted for abandoning his progressive company. CNN lampooned for blasting Fox News hosts for lack of vaccine selfies. It would save lives. Claiming it would save lives. Could have said nothing. Andrew Yang scorned after he tries to jump on National Pets Day trend with pic of a dog he gave away. Falsifying history, Vice Media flogged for publishing Cambodia genocide victims' photos with smiles photoshopped on their faces. I thought that was kind of crazy. Counter-protesters vastly outnumber Klansmen at California White Lives Matter rally as much publicized event fails to materialize. Okay, there you go. Those are the headlines. I am out of here. We shall see you tomorrow, God willing. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.